Hello, beautiful people. This is 5.1 to 5.2, writing equations of lines in slope-intercept form with me, Miss Fitzgerald, and
me, Miss Hygra. So we're going to start off with number 1, where we're going to write the equation of the line, and we're going to use the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So Miss Fitzgerald, what does m stand for?
M stands for slope, just like it did in chapter 4.
So we know that 1/2 stands for our m. What's the b, Miss Fitzgerald?
I think it's the y-intercept.
Correct! So we know that y-intercept -4 is our b. So now all we need to do is plug it into our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, plugging in m is 1/2, and b is -4. So we have y is 1/2 x minus 4. And that's it. So, Miss Fitzgerald, can you try number 2?
I'd love to, Miss Hygra. Based upon what you just said, my slope is m. That's going to be my -1. My y-intercept is 5. Labeling my m and b, I'll now plug them into the formula. Y equals, instead of m, -1 x plus b, which is 5. Miss Hygra, is that okay, or should I simplify this a little bit more?
Well, Miss Fitzgerald, you don't actually have to have that 1 right there. So you could simplify it without writing that 1. But both are okay.
I'm going to simplify it, because I think Miss Fitzgerald, I'd like that a little bit more.
Good choice. It is nice.
-x plus 5. Now what?
Well, I'm going to turn the page, and now I'm on... Wow, these look totally different, Miss Fitzgerald.
Whoa! But guess what? We can do it.
We can. Well, this point right here, that's where the line crosses the y-axis. So we know that is our y-intercept.
Right.
Which is the letter b. So I know b is -4. So looking at this, how do I determine what the slope is?
That's a great question. I like to give directions from one point to the other.
Okay. So can we start at the y-intercept, or do we have to start here? Does it matter?
It does not matter at all, Miss Hygra.
Okay, well, since I'm already at the y-intercept, I'll start there.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to the next point. So I'm going to rise 4, and then I'm going to run. And since I went left, does that matter?
It does. Because you went left, you have to go -3 units.
So does that mean if I went down, I would also make it negative?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so now I know that my b is this, and I rose 4, and I ran -3. So from this, I know that my rise is 4, and my run is -3. So putting those together, I know that my slope, my m, is rise over run. So my rise is 4, and my run is -3. So I can just simply put the negative out front to write it as -3. And I can plug it into my handy formula for slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and I plug in my m and my b into my equation, so I get -4/3 x. And then my b was a -4, so I'm going to write it as -4. And that's how we do that one.
Good job, Miss Hygra.
Thanks!
My turn. Well, from what you just said, it looks like my b, or my y-intercept, happens right here at 2. So that means my b equals 2. My slope, according to what you just said, I can get from just going from one point to the other. So to get from here to here, I'm going to go down 2, and from what you just said, that's going to be -2. And then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. So as a fraction, my slope is -2/4. How am I doing, Miss Hygra? Looks good?
Almost, but you forgot to simplify.
Oh no! How can I simplify this?
Well, I know that they're both divisible by 2, so I can divide the 2 by 2 and the 4 by 2.
And that gives you
1/2 with that negative out front.
Good job, Miss Hygra.
Thanks.
Just checking. So y equals, instead of m, I'm going to write -1/2 x plus b. So plus 2. Let's box it and make it official.
So, Miss Fitzgerald, we did rise over run, and we did these slope triangles for both of those. But since we have both coordinates, could we also use the slope formula to find the slope?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anytime.
that's another way to do it. Okay.
I don't want to do that, though.
Yeah, that was easier. Okay, so, well, this is different. It says, write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and has the slope. Well, so now I know that this is my m, but I don't know what my b is because this isn't my y-intercept. That's just some other point.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to still use the y equals mx plus b formula. When I know my m, well, and I have this point, negative 1, 3, so that's my x and my y.
I see.
So I'm going to plug negative 1 in for my x and 3 in for my y. So my y is 3, my m is negative 4, my x, negative 1, and my only leftover variable is my b. So I'm going to solve for b. So I have 3. Negative times a negative is a positive. What do I need to do next, Miss Fitzgerald?
Well, Miss Hager, you need to solve for b. So I would subtract 4 on both sides.
Oh, yeah, we learned that. So we get b is negative 1. So now I have my b is negative 1 and my m is negative 4. Am I all done?
No, Miss Hager, you haven't written your equation yet.
Oh, we need to write the equation of the line.
Stopping now would be cray-cray.
Yes, so what we have, y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to plug in y equals m, which is negative 4x, and my b is minus 1. And I'm going to box in my answers, and you give it a try, Miss Fitzgerald.
All right, I'm ready. First thing I want to do is label x and y. Next thing I'm going to do is plug in. So instead of y, I'm going to write 1 equals m, which is 2, times x, which is 5, plus b. From what you did, it looks like I need to solve first. Remember, I'm plugging directly into y equals mx plus b, because I need my y-intercept. So this is 1 is equal to 10 plus b. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. And Miss Hager, I get negative 9 is equal to b.
Well, you got to keep going, Miss Fitzgerald.
Oh, yes. Y is equal to, instead of m, way back over here, 2x. And then my b is now negative 9. One thing. This is not, it's the same, but it's not preferred. So please, please, please do not write 2x plus negative 9.
Oh, no.
No. Why not, Miss Hager?
Well, we want it simplified because we're in algebra now, so we can do that.
That's right.
Thanks.
Don't do that.
Okay.
What's next?
Well, on the next slide, it says, write the equation of the line that passes through the given points. So we're still using our equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And the key is always to find your m and your b. But we're not given either of those. We're given
right.
2 points. So now we have 2 points, and we don't have an m or a b.
I see. What are you going to do?
Well, we do have the formula to find our m, the slope formula.
What's that? I don't remember.
Well, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember we did that in chapter 4?
I do. I remember that now.
Okay. Does it matter which point is the x1, y1?
It doesn't, but as long as you're consistent, I would make x1, y1 the first pair and x2, y2 your second pair.
Okay,
But
good
that's
idea.
just me.
So let's plug it in. y2 is 8, and we're going to subtract off our y1, which is 1. My x2 is 0, and I'm going to subtract off a negative 3, and a negative makes it a positive. So I have 8 minus 1 is 7 over a positive 3. So now I have my slope. So now I have a slope. I still don't have my b. So this looks kind of like what we did in the previous 2 problems.
It is, but the only difference is now you have 2 different points instead of 1. You need to pick one.
Okay, well this one looks way easier to plug in.
It does look like that. Why do you think it's easier?
Well, there's no negatives and there's a 0.
I love it.
Okay, so now I'm going to plug into my equation. My x is 0 and my y is 8. So just to make this more clear, my xy is 0, 8, and then I'm going to plug in into my equation. So y, 8, is m, 7/3, times my x, which is 0, plus b. Well, that goes away because 0 times 7/3 is 0, so I get that my b is 8. So now I have my b and my m, and I'm going to plug it in to my y equals mx plus b formula. My m times x plus my b, and I get this equation.
Perfect.
Well, you try, Miss Fitzgerald.
I will. And ladies, if you would like to pause now and then just check with me a little bit later to see if your work is correct, you are more than welcome to. But if you're still a little bit shaky, roll with me on this one. First, make sure that you label your X and your Y. You have your X and your Y. I give the first one the 1s and the second one the 2s. Plugging in to the slope formula that Miss Hygra gave us, we will plug in 9 minus 2 over 4 minus 3. Simplifying, Miss Hygra, I get 7 over 1. What do you think about that?
Keep going. I don't want to see 7 over 1.
You don't want to see 7 over 1? Oh, that's right. Slope is equal to 7.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for that affirmation. So I don't have a 0 in my points, but I don't have any negatives. I guess it doesn't matter which point I pick. I'm going to go with this one because the numbers are smaller.
Good idea.
So here's my X and here's my Y. And I'm plugging right into Y equals mx plus b. So instead of Y, I'm going to put 2 equals m, which is 7, times X, which is 3, plus b, which I do not know yet. So 2 equals 7 times 3, Miss Hygra?
21.
21, good, plus b. Next, I don't remember how to get the b by itself.
Well, we want to get b alone. So since b, we're adding 21. To undo addition, how do we undo it?
Oh, I got to subtract it.
Good job.
Minus 21, minus 21. I think I'm good now. So negative 19 equals b. Now what? Well, I have my m. And I have my b, so I can go straight to my equation. Y equals m7 x minus 19. What do you think?
That's great. Let's move on to the word problems.
Yes, I love word problems.
Me too. Okay, so you rent a bike for a flat rate of $15 plus an additional charge of $2.50 per hour. Write an equation to model the total cost C in terms of the number of hours H you rent the bike. Wow, there's lots of stuff going on in this problem.
Yeah, you want to underline the important stuff so it's a little bit less confusing?
Well, since it's math class, I would assume that the numbers are important, so I'm going to underline those.
Good.
So $15 was a flat rate and an additional charge of $2.50 per hour. Okay, so since it's $2.50 per hour, I know that's a rate or a rate of change.
Yes, ma'am.
So what does that mean?
Well, it's $2.50 per hour, and you don't really know how many hours you're going to use, so I'd probably let that be my variable.
Okay, so H is my variable, the number of hours, so that's important too, and C is the total cost. So in the equation, Y equals mx plus b, instead, our cost is going to be our dependent variable. The number of hours, H, is going to be our independent variable because we don't know that. So we need to find our M, our slope, and our B here. And I'm going to make this H look more like an H there.
Good job.
Okay, so now I have my H, which is like my X, and my C, which is like my Y. So this is my rate of change. And my rate of change is my slope. Because it's $2.50 per hour. So I know it's going to be $2.50 times the number of hours. So I know the cost is $2.50 times H. Then what do I do with this other thing I underlined? Is that important?
Yes, because they said they're charging us for $15 plus that additional charge.
Oh, so the flat rate is always going to be my y-intercept.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's going to be plus 15. So that's going to be the equation that we have. So your flat rate is always going to be your fixed cost, which is your y-intercept, and your rate of change, the thing per hour that we're multiplying by the number of hours, is always going to be our slope.
That's right.
Okay, so now we're going to find the cost to rent a bike for 4 hours. So 4 hours, what does that mean?
Well, the 4 hours, remember from your last equation, was the H.
Ah.
So I would plug in 4 hours wherever I saw H in this equation.
Okay, so C is 2.50 times H, which is 4, plus 15. 250 times 4, Miss Fitzgerald?
Is 10.
Okay, so it's 10 plus 15, which is 25. Can we stop there?
Well, I would write a sentence.
Okay, let's write a sentence.
Talk fast.
Ta-da! Here is our sentence. So it costs $25 to rent the bike for 4 hours. So what do we do with the last two problems?
Try them on your own and we'll go over them in class. See ya!
Great idea. Bye.